you wasted 10 years of your life.
I think it was fear that I'm not going to be able to make this work.
Not that many people change careers like that.
That has cost me in the past too.
What was the conversation with your wife like?
Yeah, I think the main thing I've taken away is that if you've got an idea and you want to do something, then go for it.
I'm not happy with the answer.
I shut that out. I didn't think that, I didn't let myself hear the good advice I was being given.
This is fascinating because that's what stops most people.
If you've got a chance to use your skills to benefit other people, then you'll be surprised how it will come back to you.
Well, Phil, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you for doing this. We've been planning this for a while, haven't we?
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, and let me just start by saying the why of the podcast. I started this podcast because I think everyone has got something valuable to say. You don't have to be a millionaire, you don't have to be a CEO, you don't have to be recognized as an expert in a domain to have something valuable to say so that others can learn from it. Just your unique perspective as a human being is enough. So that's what we're gonna focus on during the next hour. Have you got any questions so far?
I don't think so at this stage.
Okay then. So let me tell you a bit about myself. During a week, on average, I listen to around 8 hours of podcasts. And the reason for it is because I find them really interesting. You get to learn things you would not normally have access to, and you get to listen to perspectives you might not normally have. A quick example I have for you is think about politics. You and I might have similar or very different views on politics, and that's fine. But when you have political arguments, you might only know about your side of the argument. You might not necessarily think about, oh, what's the other party trying to say? What's the other side trying to convey to the people? And through podcasts, you get people giving all sorts of sides and opinions and comments. And it's quite interesting sometimes because you get to learn about a part of someone or a part of a side you would not normally think about. So that's about me and podcasts and how much I listen to. My two favorite podcasts, for example, My First Million and PPD podcast. One of them is about business, one of them is about politics and geopolitical stuff. How about you? Do you listen to any podcasts?
I do. I mainly listen to fiction podcasts. Usually go through Hello from the Magic Tavern. And there's another one called, it was called Are You Afraid of the Dark Universe, but they've just rebranded themselves as the Pod Universe. And as I say, fiction and things like that's mainly what I listen to.
And can you just give me a bit of info on them? So obviously sci-fi, but can you tell me a story or like something? I'm just curious.
Yeah, Hello from the Magic Tavern is the main guy is a guy called Arnie Niekamp, and the idea is that 10 years ago he fell through a wormhole into a magical world called Foon, and him and his co-hosts, Chunt the Talking Badger and Usador the Wizard, they interview various denizens of Foon, and it's utterly ridiculous, all improvised and very funny. And the way that Are You Afraid of the Dark Universe started was in 2017, Universal made a new version of The Mummy, which was meant to be a launch of a whole load of Universal property like Frankenstein and Dracula and things, and they were going to make an entire shared universe to rival the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But the first film, The Mummy starring Tom Cruise, was very bad, and the entire idea was canned after that. And so two people in the USA decided that they were going to revive the franchise and make all the films in podcast format. And they did. They made Dracula, The Mummy, The Invisible Man, and many, many others, and made an entire 3-year, 4-season saga. And now, having finished that, they've now started their own original sci-fi thing. It's only started this month, and they've just done one film so far. I say film, it's all podcast. It's basically they write the script and then read the scripts, and yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And you said this is like they improvise on the spot during the podcast.
In Hello from the Magic Tavern they do, but in Are You Afraid of the Dark Universe and now the Pod Universe, they write the scripts beforehand and then read what they come up with, and they sort of workshop the scripts to each other.
And can I just ask, why sci-fi necessarily? Is that what you primarily like?
It is, well, sci-fi, fantasy, things like that. Yes, what I tend to read, and when I was a professional editor, it was what I marketed myself as for editing as well. Although I ended up doing a lot of non-fiction, a lot of non-sci-fi and fantasy as well. But that's sort of what I'm drawn to.
And is there anything in the sci-fi podcast world, not necessarily podcast, but is there anything in the sci-fi world that you've taken and applied to yourself, maybe?
I don't think there has been really. I enjoy sort of switching off and just enjoying the story mainly. I wouldn't say that I apply anything that I learn in these into my world. It's mainly for entertainment.
But use it as a way to switch off, you're saying. So
yeah.
That's actually quite helpful. Yeah, sometimes I find it hard to switch off, and I could see by what you've just said, that maybe something like sci-fi could sometimes help you blow off some steam or just relax and think about, be taken onto a journey. You've got a wife. Is she listening to any sci-fi podcasts as well? Just curious.
She's really into things like Buffy, and I'm not sure if she's listening to any Buffy podcasts at the moment, but she likes that sort of thing as well. But we listen to quite different things. She much more often listens to music than to podcasts, I think.
That's fair enough. And when you said Buffy, what's that?
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Okay, so still kind of like sci-fi a bit.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay, that's cool. And I guess moving on a bit from this, I was just curious about people in podcasts. Most people have got different experiences throughout their life. And I'm sat here looking at you and I'm thinking, you definitely have some cool stories. And you're 38, you said earlier.
Yeah, indeed.
Every single person has definitely got some sort of cool stories about themselves that they could share. So thinking about yourself, has something exciting happened in your life that you want to talk about?
Well, I've got a new job. I've completely retrained basically. I'm just at the beginning of retraining. I spent the last 5 years as a professional editor and proofreader. The last 17 years as a professional musician as well. I've got a music degree, but now I'm doing a coding apprenticeship. Working for an insurance company. So that's very different from anything I've done before. It started with a coding boot camp this week, which is running for 16 weeks, running till the beginning of January. And it's very full on, but I'm really enjoying it so far.
Why did you change? Because you were in a very different part of, say, the world, and now you've switched all the way across to something very technical, which is software development and coding. Why did you change?
It's actually through my work as an editor. I was using Microsoft Word a lot, and there's actually a programming language embedded in Microsoft applications in Excel, in Word, in PowerPoint and things, and it's called VBA, Visual Basic for Applications. And I started getting interested in writing macros to speed up my editing work. I started using other people's, and I started getting interested in how they work, essentially. And at some point I just got hooked. I started writing macros for other editors as well, and they said it was really useful. And then I started wondering what other weird and wonderful things it could do. And I think it was about the time that I was teaching Microsoft Word to play Hangman and Noughts and Crosses that I thought I'd like to see what's out there that I could turn this into a job, because it really was becoming a little bit of an obsession really. And yeah, I found this opportunity. I applied for it, somehow got it, even though I've not got a coding background. And yeah, now it's turned into my career, I guess.
Okay, and staying on this for a second, because it's quite interesting. Not that many people change careers like that. I see it as a radical change. Someone said something quite interesting at some point. They said change happens when the pain of staying the same outweighs the pain of changing. So I guess just focusing on that obsession of yours. Okay, you had the obsession. Okay, you had, I guess you had some sort of opportunity to learn about, what was it you called it?
VBA.
VBA.
Yeah.
So how did that force you to make that decision? Because it's quite, you're 38, you've got kids, you've got a wife. It's quite scary to make to make such a change at you're not old, but it's quite scary at that kind of at that stage to make a change like that.
Yeah, certainly. I've been freelance for quite a long time. The last time I had an employed job was 2013. I worked in a toy shop for 3.5 years in Bath, and yeah, I decided to become a musician at that point. I've got, like I said, I've got a music degree, and I've been doing a little bit of freelance work, but I decided to make that my main focus. But it's never been particularly stable. I was doing a fair amount of editing work for the last 5 years, really enjoying that. But yeah, it wasn't bringing in a huge amount of income. I had regular work, but I think I'd reached a ceiling of what I could do with it, really. So I was starting to think that maybe an employed job again, so I don't have to chase invoices all the time. And yeah, I know how much is coming in each month and when it's coming in as well. So yeah, I was already thinking that moving back into the employed world and a regular paycheck would be a good thing. And when I saw this, it just seemed perfect, because the role that I'm going for, or that I've got, I should say, is quality engineer or test engineer. So I'm checking existing code and making sure that it's fit for purpose, it's secure. And that's essentially what I was doing as a proofreader as well, just with text rather than code. So it's taking the existing skills I've got and transferring them into a different industry.
Okay, and when you were transitioning, even though you were self-employed, was that, how challenging was that?
Yeah, it's been fairly challenging actually. There were a lot of stages that I needed to go through. As I say, I'm working for an insurance company, and in the financial industries they've got a lot of regulation. They need to make sure that they're employing people who are who they say they are. So yeah, there was a lot of paperwork to do. Even when I've been offered the job, the training provider that is doing my apprenticeship, they're actually different from the company that I'm working for. I had to do a coding test with them as well to show that I had the skills that they were looking for. So yeah, essentially I had 2 application processes, and then yeah, a lot of paperwork to prove my my earnings, my background as being freelance as well, because anyone can say that they are freelance. But yeah, luckily I've got an accountant, so I could get the required paperwork. And then as well, once I'd made the change and said, yeah, this is definitely locked in now, I started getting all these inquiries for editing that I then had to turn down typically. Yeah, there were some quite good looking projects that I would have loved to have done, but yeah, it was the right choice still, and I'm glad that I've made it.
I'm going to press you some more on this. I'm not happy with the answer.
Okay.
So, you make the decision to go from editing text, copywriting, basically.
Copy editing.
Copy editing, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
copywriting is actually producing the text and writing copy, yeah, copy editing is editing the copy and yeah, proofreading.
So you go from copy editing to now working for a company where you do quality assurance work. The thing I'm looking for is what challenges did you face before getting the job? Because, for example, I do programming, and I went to university for that. I then started applying for jobs, rejected, applying again, rejected, applying again, eventually getting a job. So I guess for me the challenge there was going from not knowing anything about interviews, not knowing anything about behaving in an interview, to going into the interview, nailing the questions, and then I guess getting the job. But I don't really care too much about that because that's just the given part. What I'm looking for from you is, in your head, you have the opportunity to work in the domain. You get some sort of experience from working with VBA.
Yeah.
And VBA is, tell me again.
Visual Basic for applications.
Which is
basically embedded in Microsoft Word and Excel and Microsoft applications.
And that does what?
It allows you to interact with the program. So the if you want to save in Microsoft Word, you can get VBA to do that. If you want to open a new document, you can do that in VBA. But you can also do, without getting too technical, I guess, the sort of for next loops, while loops and things like that. So there are some things that are very transferable to other languages.
I see. Okay, so what I'm looking for is you get the opportunity to work with that. You're sort of interested. You get a passion for it. But then how do you take that passion? What do we exactly do? Because it's not just as easy to, in my head, maybe I'm completely wrong here. It's not just as easy to say, I've got a passion in that. I'm going to change my entire career now from freelancing to, I guess, applying for software companies. Do you see what I mean?
Indeed, yeah. Well, the opportunity that actually came up, it was perfect at the time because it's an apprenticeship. So they don't expect you to know everything, and they're actually looking for people that only had a very rudimentary grasp. The advert that I saw, the job ad, said that you need to have some sort of coding experience, but it doesn't need to be in a professional context. And I found out once I'd actually got it, that if I'd had more experience, then it would have made me ineligible for certain parts of it, because the government rules around apprenticeships is that you can't have too many skills in what you're going into. They need to see that because it takes quite a lot to fund an apprenticeship. They want to see that the money that the government's giving the company to fund it is being spent actually training people, because there's no point if I knew everything there is about the programming language Python, there's not really any point me doing an apprenticeship to learn it. So yeah, it was very much entry level, and I actually had to fill out a questionnaire saying what your skills. It was give from 1 to 5, 1 being no nothing, 5 being an expert, and they said your answers should be mainly 1s or 2s. Otherwise you might not be able to do every module. So yeah, I was fortunate that I found an entry-level job that was actually going to train me up, and I won't actually join my team that I'm going to be working with until January, when I've done this coding bootcamp. So I'm going to get the skills first, and then I'm going to apply them, hopefully, in my new role.
Okay, I understand now. And could you tell me, you have the idea, okay, I want to transition from copy editing to that part of the world. What was the conversation with your wife like?
We discussed it in different ways, actually, because we talked about how I really wasn't earning enough, and she said, really, I think we should start looking for something employed for you. So I'd applied for a few different jobs, not a huge amount, but yeah, I'd not really got anywhere with them. But yeah, she was very happy for me to be looking for employed work. And yeah, when this came up, we had a chat through it, and she said, yeah, I think you should go for it. And yeah, then it came good, basically.
Were there any challenges at the beginning when you were talking with your wife about this? Because obviously you said you weren't making the paychecks you were bringing in weren't as regular. You could have done better. Maybe an employed job could help you a bit more with that. So I guess, how did that make you feel in the moment, and is there anything you took away from those conversations?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't happy with what I was earning. That was the big thing. But to be perfectly honest, I hadn't really considered looking for coding jobs, because I was thinking it's hard to get into, particularly with the rise of AI, and I think the junior positions are disappearing pretty quickly. I know that the enormous tech companies have cut a lot of their roles as well, and those software developers are now looking for positions as well. so it's getting harder and harder to get into. But I was having a chat with another editor. I run a little Slack group for editors. There are 8 of us, and we sort of share accountability goals. Yeah, sometimes talk about different editing tips. And I'd said that I wasn't really happy with the money that I was bringing in, and one of my editing friends in there I'd written some macros for. He said, well, you're really good at this coding with Microsoft Word. I know it's very basic, but why don't you have a look at what other opportunities are out there? And so I did, and it just so happened that I looked 5 or 6 days before the closing date for this particular vacancy that has now become my job. So yeah, it was a little bit of sort of right place, right time, essentially.
And looking back at this whole experience that has just happened to you, is there anything you've learned from it? Because it's quite big. Again, it's obviously congratulations, because this is, again, going from one side of the industry, copy editing, to software, massive thing. And obviously you're doing the internship now, and hopefully you'll then by the end of it you'll know more things, and then find a job you like within the industry. But is there anything you've taken away from making the decision of, okay, I wanna look into this a bit more, from there to having to talk with your wife, to then seeing the job, perfect timing for you, and then applying, and then finding out, okay, you qualify, you go to the interviews, you then get the actual internship. Is there anything you've taken away from this whole massive journey you've been on?
Yeah, I think the main thing I've taken away is that if you've got an idea and you want to do something, then go for it, and don't fall at the first hurdle as well, because there are a few different jobs that I applied for before this one. I was probably applying for jobs for 6 months, 9 months, something like that. I didn't apply for masses of them during that time, but I applied for a fair few. And yeah, it would have been very easy to think, I'm not getting anywhere with this. Admittedly, I was applying for other types of jobs, but it was still things that I had very transferable skills in. I did see a publishing job come up, and editorial work was a real strong part of that. I didn't even get a response for that one. There was another publishing job for an academic journal that I went for again that was local. I would have been able to do the hours very easily, but again, didn't get there. But yeah, I heard someone say that the best way to win the lottery, it is luck, but the more lottery tickets you buy, the more likely you are to win. I wouldn't suggest that people go out and buy millions of lottery tickets, because you'll probably lose a lot of money that way, but I do get the idea of the more you try, the more you're likely to make your own luck, essentially. And yeah, I had to learn a lot about interview technique as well, because it'd been a very long time since I'd done an interview again. So yeah, there's something that they like you to use called the STAR technique now. Situation, task, action, result, I think it stands for. And yeah, so I learned a lot about perseverance, I guess. And I'd be lying if I said that it was just really easy. I thought, right, just going to persevere, got it. And yeah, there were times when I thought, oh, I just don't want to apply this month. I'm just not getting anywhere. So yeah, it's sort of picking yourself up as well and having the conversations with those around you to keep going until you really find that that thing.
Sorry to interrupt. Stick with that for a second, please. You apply and you apply and you apply, nothing's going on. What makes you keep going? Obviously perseverance, yeah, wind and word in the dust. Whilst passion, yeah, we throw that around like it means nothing sometimes. Obviously, you know, like another driver for you, from what I'm taking, is you obviously weren't too happy with the paychecks you were getting. But then again, what made you keep going? Some people would not be as strong as you.
I think it was really, I kept on seeing things that I wanted to apply for. It would have been very difficult if all I was seeing were things that I was thinking, well, I could do that, but I don't want to. Whereas everything I applied for, I was fortunate I still wasn't on the stage that my back was against the wall financially. Our savings were going the wrong way, but they weren't exhausted. if that makes sense. So I did have the ability to only apply for things that I really thought this is something that I think I'd be good at and that I also want to do. I have had jobs in the past that didn't last a huge amount of time because they weren't my passion, really. They weren't necessarily bad jobs, it's just that I wasn't a good fit. Whereas now, I feel like I've gone for something that I think I can be good at and that I can enjoy. And yeah, I'm only 3 weeks in, but yeah, I'm really enjoying the things so far. So yeah, I think it was just because the opportunities that I saw looked interesting, and they were something that I wanted to get. Obviously, it becomes more difficult when you don't get those opportunities, but yeah, if you keep trying, keep refining your technique as well, thinking where did I go wrong before, what can I do differently next time, then hopefully at some point it comes good.
I think you've kind of mentioned it, but I wasn't sure about where you stand on that. What do you think about this statement? You should be, at the beginning, you should be happy to do whatever. In your application, in your journey to applying and getting the internship, were you ever having that attitude? I feel like you mentioned it, but it might have just me imagining things.
Yeah, I think it's well, what I said was that I was applying for things that I thought, first of all, that I could do, but also that I wanted to do, because yeah, I think everyone wants to go, if they're going to work, they want to go to a job that they actually enjoy doing, and that doesn't mean that they're going to go in and be skipping around happy all day, every day. There are always going to be challenges, and there are always going to be those weeks where nothing seems to go right, but yeah, when it's a job that in general is going to fulfill you, um, then yeah, it doesn't really matter what that is. I've heard stories of people that worked at the top of big companies, hated it, and then went into a manual labour job and found that was really what they enjoyed doing. So yeah, it's finding that thing that you can stick at because you want to do it, and yeah, feel like you're making a difference as well there.
And I think when I asked you what your main takeaway was, you said, if you've got an idea, go do it. 100%, right? Because some people have the idea, but they don't do it. For example, the podcast. I had the idea around last year, a bit more than last year, I think. I had the idea in my final year of university in 2024, in the first half of 2024. So that's when I had the idea, and I put it off until March of this year. And then I was like, you know what? I quite enjoy this. I have the idea. Let's go do it. So yeah, fully agree with that. I think sometimes having the idea and is not enough. You need to action. You need to do something with it.
Because there's not doing something with the idea is a choice as well, and that has cost me in the past too. Around about probably 2016, 2017, I first entertained the idea of becoming a proofreader. I was doing some creative writing myself, just for my enjoyment, of swapping work with other people. And I was finding a lot of typos, and I did seriously consider going for it at that point. But I thought, no, it's going to be too hard to transition from being a self-employed musician to this, so I'm not going to do it. Then in 2019, I had a change of heart, and I thought, no, I am really going to follow this. That was about September, October 2019. I started training as a proofreader. I was midway through my training and lockdown happened. COVID happened in March 2020 with all the lockdowns. And when that was happening, it wasn't too easy or too legal to go out and be a musician everywhere. And I was training as a proofreader, but if I'd taken that leap 3 years earlier, then I would have had a business that I could already do fully online, already set up to go. Whereas, yeah, I was on the back foot then because I hadn't taken that leap those few years earlier.
Wow, okay. And tell me again, why didn't you take the leap in 2016?
I think it was fear that I'm not going to be able to make this work. I was seeing all the reasons why it couldn't work and not thinking about what it could lead to if I tried it. And even though I've now moved away from that, I had 5 years of very satisfying editing work. I met some great people. I worked for some great clients as well. I've worked for some well-known people. I don't know if you've seen Taskmaster on Channel 4. Alex Horn, who co-presents that, he's in a comedy band called The Horn Section, and he and his band wrote a humorous music theory book, which was published by Puffin, and I got to proofread that. So yeah, I've worked on some other books. There's one book that I proofread for someone well known this year. It's not published yet, so I don't think I can say who it is until it's actually out. But yeah, again, a well known person. I thought, oh, I know that name. I know who they are, and yeah, I get to work on their text. So yeah, it led to some exciting things. And again, I could have been doing that a number of years earlier, but I made the choice not to at the time.
This is fascinating because that's what stops most people: fear. Oh, I'm too afraid of changing my job. I'm too afraid to apply for a new company. I'm too afraid to ask for a salary increase. I'm too afraid to take that university course. It's so crazy because at the end of the day, fear is something, the way I say it, and again, might be wrong, fear is something we create ourselves. We create those moments in our brains where we make ourselves doubt our abilities. It's crazy. I'm reading this, and I'm saying this because I'm reading a book right now. Marcus Aurelius. He was a Roman emperor, and
Yeah.
he didn't write this book called Meditations. He didn't write. It was a sort of a personal journal he kept to himself, and after he died, it was discovered and it was well kept. And it's basically a book that contains 12 other books, and they're all his personal reflections on life, philosophy, nature, and all of that. And one of the things he says in one of the first couple of chapters, couple of books within Meditations, he says something along the lines of anxieties is something that come from within. They're not being created by you or by the person sat across from me or by the neighbor. It's something we create ourselves because we keep repeating the same stories or the same things to ourselves that are not positive, and then fear comes in, and then you don't apply for that proofreading job, and then COVID happens, and then you realize, shit, I could have started the COVID years with more work than if I hadn't stayed as a musical in the music industry.
Indeed. I mean, it's always going to be a difficult step to change, and it isn't always the right choice. I think it's just trying to entertain the possibility a little bit more and think, what could my life look like if I go for this way? And it's very, very easy and very natural as well to think of all the things that could go wrong. But yeah, I wish that on that occasion I'd thought a little bit more about what could go right. And yeah, I found out a few years later. And yeah, as I say, it was an essential stepping stone on me getting this coding apprenticeship as well. So yeah, I think that it is fine if you've thought things through and an opportunity really isn't for you. But yeah, trying to at least entertain the possibility and make sure you've thought about all the pros, and it's not only fear that it might not work that's holding you back from it.
Now, having gone from being fearful in 2016 to then doing the job in 2021,
End of 2020, beginning of 2021.
end of 2020, to then getting a job, to then years later wanting to go and say, you know what, I'm not going to be doing copy editing anymore. I'm going to be going in software. So going from being fearful to all the way to gonna go change the entire industry I work in. Thinking about, because you've just said, sometimes it's good not to make that step, not to make that change. What are some things you're using or looking at when now making that decision of whether you want to make a change?
I think it's looking at the pros and cons of staying the same and the pros and cons of changing. And before I even saw this opportunity, I'd already put more things into the cons list than into the pros list of staying the same. As I say, I wasn't bringing in enough money. That was a big driving force. And I was also realizing how much I was missing routine, because the wonderful and terrible thing about being freelance is often you can work whenever you want. So I was finding that when I got a proofreading project come in, then the deadline was the obsession, not in a good way, thinking I need to get this done as soon as I possibly can. And I'd often find that I'd wake up early in the morning and I could get several hours of proofreading done before 10 o'clock, let's say. And then I'd find that I'd run out of steam and I'd think, oh, okay, I can't focus as much in the afternoon now. It wouldn't be fair to my client to work anymore on this today because I'm not going to be concentrating as well. And yeah, I think it was having an adverse effect on my mood because I was feeling tired by the end of the day. I was exhausted. And yeah, just having that, having no reason to have a real schedule was not feeling great. And also, with proofreading, it's a very solitary profession. I can't have people around me when I'm proofreading. I need the noise cancelling headphones on. I need to be laser focused on the text, reading every word, which allows you to focus on what you're doing, not miss mistakes. It's very easy to gloss over something. When you're reading something, it's very obvious when you're talking that I've just repeated myself. But when it's on the page, it can very easily slip past you. So it's making sure that you're reading carefully. And I am quite a social person. I like to be amongst people. My favourite part of the year when I was editing was going to an editing conference and seeing all the other editors, meeting them, sharing experience, sharing tips. And I realised that I wanted more of that. And so being employed now means that I talk to lots of people. I work for a big company now. The apprenticeship that I'm doing, the boot camp I'm on, there are upwards of 60, 70 people all doing it, and we join Zoom calls together. There's some paired programming. There's we all got a peer group that we've been put into so we can talk to people about our struggles and peer review our work as well. So yeah, those pros became very attractive to me, and I felt like the cons were starting to outweigh things. And when I was finding I was having to constantly chase some clients to be paid, yeah, it just felt like there were a lot more reasons now to go for it. So I guess it became easier the more I thought about it. Felt like the right choice.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, that's pros outweigh the cons. Do it. Makes sense. No brainer. Something else I'm curious about you, because it relates to how I view the world and myself, is obviously you've said you're 38, and I'm just curious for when you were in your early 20s. I have this feeling of urgency, like time is running out, like I have to do something, and I have to start doing it now or soon. And if you have an idea, like you said, act on it. Don't wait. I waited with this for a year and a half, and then I did. And I don't know. Lately, it's been I have to do it because I feel like time is running out. And that also comes from, for example, do you know Alex Hormozy?
I don't.
That's okay. Alex Hormozy is not going too much in detail here. He's just an American businessman. I say businessman. He started a couple of companies and he's quite successful. And he said something very interesting in some of his videos. He said, for example, if you're not going to get in shape now, you're never going to do it. And I was like, oh shit, he's right. If you're not going to do it now, why would you think you're going to do it later? And then you've got the saying, which obviously comes to me in Romanian, not in English, but it goes something along the lines of, don't put things off for tomorrow when you can do them today. Something like that. And I don't know, assuming you felt the same, or maybe not, Did you ever have to cope with that?
My early 20s, I mean, the good first 2.5 decades of my life, I was a lot more aimless than I am now. I found that I didn't really take the opportunities that were available nearly as much in my 20s. As I say, my last employed job, I worked in a toy shop for 3.5 years, and it wasn't my favourite job. I felt fairly early on like I needed to make a change because the company just wasn't where I wanted to be essentially. But I didn't feel like I could make the change because I thought I don't really have any other skills. I could probably be quite good at admin, but I don't have any admin skills that I can show on paper, so I didn't really look for other opportunities. It was only when I started to do a little bit of self-employed music work, and again, that was sort of an opportunity that came to me by luck rather than me looking for it. Someone asked if I wanted to accompany the choir, and I said yes because it was something I wanted to do. And then someone else said, "Oh, have you thought about piano teaching?" So I started doing a little bit of piano teaching, but it was really sort of reacting to other things. And even after I stopped working at the toy shop, I decided I was going to focus on my music because I was starting to get some more inquiries. I still wasn't really thinking about what I wanted to do with it. I was sort of just taking anything as it came up, and I did have some great experiences. One choir ended up accompanying from 2014 until this year because I really enjoyed it. But it was still much more sort of reacting to things rather than going out and finding my own way. And I think a part of it was because at the time I told you I've got type 1 diabetes, and it actually used to be very badly controlled. And you would be amazed how much that saps your energy because it basically affects every cell in your body. If you Google the complications that can and do and will result from poorly controlled diabetes, they are terrifying and very long. Just to name a few, blindness, kidney failure, heart attacks, limb amputation. And these are all things that will happen if you constantly have high blood sugars. And yeah, I felt like I was fighting a losing battle, really, because I hadn't looked, is there another way of doing it? Is there a way of controlling my diabetes? And it turns out if you pay attention to what you're doing and you monitor things properly, then you can get things under control and you will feel much, much better. And when I made that choice at the beginning of 2014, after a lot of problems, when you get very low blood sugars, then you will pass out. You will lose consciousness. You'll get very confused before that. After that had happened just one too many times, I thought I need to make that change. I was newly married at the time, and I thought this was meant to be the start of my life, and it kind of feels like it's all the end of things. And yeah, I was amazed by how much more energy I had when I started to take control of it. And since that time, I haven't had an episode of low blood sugars that I haven't been able to sort out myself. I haven't lost consciousness. I haven't become confused by low blood sugars because, yeah, I take care of myself. And my healthcare team now ask me, "Are you sure you have diabetes?" Because my levels are so good because I pay attention. So I think that was the first really big choice that I made, and everything else started to come on from there.
What I'm about to say now, it might sound a bit harsh, and I apologize for that, but it's coming from a good place. It seems like, as you said, you were aimless in your 20s, and the reason for that, given what you've said, my interpretation is that part of it was because you didn't take control of your diabetes problem. And then you did, and you saw the change, the positive impact it had in your life. How do you see that period of your life now? Do you feel like, are you regretting that? Because I could sit here very objectively in a very rude way and say, you wasted 10 years of your life. Obviously not the case, But how do you feel about that?
I think that, yeah, there's a lot of things that I'd love to go back and change. But having said that, I don't think you'll ever find that something is all bad or all good. And yeah, I did get some opportunities as well. Again, for a long time, I'd wanted to accompany a choir, and I did start doing that in 2010. And then I started in 2013. I started to accompany another choir, which had some professional singers in it, but it was still a non-auditioned. No, that's not true. Actually, it did used to be a audition choir. And so, yeah, having the standard of singers meant that I felt like I needed to up my game as well. I was amazed when I joined the choir how much I've been coasting a little bit with the other choir. I'd done the practice, but I wasn't really looking to push my abilities any further as a pianist. And when I started accompanying this other choir, it meant I felt like I needed to be at a higher level. So then I started to work and to see my abilities come on. And yeah, during that time as well, I got married before my diabetes was on the straight and narrow, and yeah, did a few things like that. But yeah, there were times when I was wasting what I could have done, working in a job that I didn't enjoy, and yeah, I definitely, if I'd taken that step earlier, then I think that I could have moved things more quickly. But having said that, if that had happened, you go back before, if you've got a child, go back before your child is born, change one thing, you have a different child, you don't have a child, you have 3 children. All of these things can change drastically. And yeah, when we decided that we wanted to have a child, obviously any child we had, we would be thrilled with. But now that we have a son, that is the child we have now and the child that we always wanted. So yeah, I go back to that time and I change one thing. I don't have my son anymore. So yeah, I guess that is sort of everything happens for a reason. Yeah, I don't massively believe in fate, but I believe in retroactively applying fate to the things that I've done.
And looking at the moment it's not, it is probably a moment when you decided, but when you looking at your taking control of in your case, diabetes, and starting to change your life in a positive way after you got newly wedded. Obviously, people might have different sort of situations. They might not have the diabetes situation, but they might have something else. So I guess, what do you say to, maybe to me, if I'm in a position where I don't even realize that I need to take control of my life? What would you say there?
I think I'd say listen to what the people around you are saying, because my wife was obviously, when you see someone you love in a lot of distress, or literally unconscious, then that is not going to have a good effect on you, to put it mildly. And yeah, my wife wanted me to change the way I manage my diabetes for a long time. And because I had told myself that this wasn't possible, this is how it's always been, this is how it's going to be, I shut that out. I didn't think that, I didn't let myself hear the good advice I was being given. And I guess in some ways it's similar to someone who's dealing with alcohol addiction or drug addiction. They feel like they're stuck in this cycle, and anything that someone close to them says to try to get them to change, it's very difficult for them to listen to that advice. But it doesn't have to be something, I mean, it might be something like that, but also it can be if someone's telling you that you're harming yourself in some way, or you're holding yourself back. I mean, they could be wrong. It's entirely possible for someone to give you bad advice, but also it's worth listening and having a conversation, because that's what was missing really. I wasn't willing to talk about the situation that I was in, and when I actually started to talk about things, it became a lot easier to change them and then to move forward, because it's very easy to think I'm in this on my own, and it's actually very easy to make yourself in this on your own. But when you start to listen and to talk and to discuss and to be willing to make that change, then what was impossible suddenly becomes maybe not easy, and it definitely wasn't easy, but it becomes at least feels like it's something that you can achieve.
You know what? I agree with that. Recently, I read the book Principles by Ray Dalio, and he talks about principles in life and in business. Ray Dalio is an American business person. He created a company called Bridgewater Investments and all that kind of stuff. And he was talking about different principles he's developed throughout the years. And one of them was that has stuck with me is being radically open-minded and always listening to what other people are saying, because you know what, you you might be wrong. You might actually, there might be someone out there who wants what's best for you and says to you something that could be absolutely helpful, and you don't listen to them. But if you're extremely open-minded, then you can hear it, and then you can start thinking, well, is that true? If it's true, what do I need to do? What are the next steps? Why would it be true? All that kind of stuff. And I think what you just said now, yeah, I fully agree with it. Yeah, thank you. I want to invite you to go to a dark place with me for a second.
Okay.
So, if this was the last time you ever talked with anyone, your kid, your wife, your friends, your family, or maybe you are a CEO, maybe you're a president, maybe you are a prime minister, maybe you are a very, very recognizable person, what would you say to them?
That's a good question, and yeah, I don't really have an answer. Yeah, you've stumped me with that one. I'll be honest. Yeah, so sort of what advice I give them.
What would you want the world or the people close to you to remember you for? Or what would be a lesson you would want to pass on to them?
I mean, there's sort of the easy answers to reach for, and I guess it's kind of what we've been talking about a little bit. Seize the day, but yeah, it feels a little bit too much of a sort of a pithy thing. I guess in terms of remembering me, I think that I probably want them to say, "Well, he tried." I think, yeah, I feel like. Nowadays, I do try, and yeah, sometimes I even get to the right answer. And yeah, I don't know that that's always been true in my life, or sort of trying the right things. But yeah, I'd hope that people would remember. I know this isn't this sort of a bit of a rambling answer because yeah, I've never sort of thought in that last sort of thing.
So what you've said, I'm going to press you on this. What you said is you would like people to remember you as someone who kept trying. Is that the lesson you want to pass on? Because that's more of the factor. That's more on the side of the looks of it. But what about the lesson? What about something you've learned? Because we started this whole podcast saying everyone's got something unique about them that could be and should be valuable to others.
Yeah, I guess what I'd say is think about how you can help people because it can benefit you as well. The way that I've worked with writing macros for Microsoft Word, that's what uses VBA. Yeah, I've got access to some editors only forums, and sometimes people will post on them. Does anyone know if there's a macro for, let's say, reordering a list of academic references? And often there's another editor who's retired now called Paul Beverley. He's written over 1,000 macros for editors and saved people probably hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of editing. But equally, occasionally there'll be something I'm like, no, there isn't a macro for there. And yeah, I get really excited. rush off, try and write the macro for the person, get it working. And I've learnt so much from doing that. My problem solving abilities have really come on. And yeah, it's very satisfying when you get over that hump of not knowing how to solve it, thinking, yes, there it is, I can get it to do that. So yeah, I learned huge amounts from doing that, and people are very grateful. People started to pass my name around as well. I've got people coming to me for macros, and yeah, I got a little bit of editing work out of it as well. So yeah, I think yeah, if you've got a chance to use your skills to benefit other people, then you'll be surprised how it will come back to you. That's not to say that you should go out and purely work for free, because yeah, it's very easy to realise you haven't made any money this month because you've been too busy writing macros for everyone. But yeah, sometimes giving back in that way can really benefit you as well.
Well, Philip, thank you for this. Really appreciate it. The three main things I've taken from this conversation are this. So number one, if you've got an idea, go and try it. Don't let fear hold you back. Go do it, because you've got nothing to lose. Then, and with that, weigh the pros and the cons. The second thing I've taken from you is take control of your life, and you do that by being open-minded and hearing what people are trying to say, because they want what's best for you. And not being open-minded closes you off to your own maybe insecurities or cycle of paranoia and things that just are negative for you or not good. Finally, what I've taken from you is help others, because you will benefit from that, but also be a good person. Philip, thank you so much for this. Really appreciate it. As we're wrapping up, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, I guess what's your challenge? You've obviously started the podcast here, but what's the next challenge that you're sort of maybe on the fence about deciding to do?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good question. I've got just the answer for you, and it's been on my mind for the past month or so. I think we started the podcast today, stating the why. Everyone's got something valuable to say, and I think I need to do a better job at asking the right questions of my guests, including you, to try and get that value out of people. And it's been very much a learning curve. I think the first 11 episodes that are out so far, and the 12th one that's going to go out in a week or so, they've been very much focused on the career paths, which is quite an interesting thing still, but not so much on those experiences that people have, that once they look into them, what we're doing here, I want to get more value out of that. And today I've been this is quite a funny story. For the past week, I've been trying to think, right, what questions could I change that I could ask you, Philip, today, so that I could get I could get closer to getting the value. Not getting the value, so that you can put that value out there. Because the way I say it is, my job is to sit here, have a conversation with you, develop a relationship, and see what you can contribute to others. And yeah, I was sat at the office or in my room. I was trying to come up with questions, and I think I came up with 4 different sets of questions for this. And this morning I woke up and I was like, this is bad. None of them are good. All of them are very much focused on the career, or very much focused on making the conversation really like an interview. And I really hope this hasn't felt like an interview. But yeah, the challenge I'm trying to tackle at the moment is coming up with the right questions while making this feel like a natural conversation, so that it allows you to put that value out there. So that's what I've been. That's the current challenge I have, and probably the next challenge for the next couple Weeks or months, yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was a good answer.
Thank you. Well, Philip, nice to meet you again. Appreciate you for doing this.
You too, it's a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
No worries.